Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel for my review on my third favourite film of all time. Despite enjoying the original 1982 classic, I love the new direction and story this movie adopts and how different it felt to its predecessor, capturing the love of both those that did and didn't like the original film. So this is Kia's Reviews and this is my review of Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner 2049 is immaculate. A beautiful visual movie that stands on the backs of the performances from Ryan Gosling, Jared Leto, and the rest of the cast. Visually stunning, this follow-up to the original 1982 classic is a masterpiece, expanding the world created in the predecessor. Attracting audiences made up of fans of the first Blade Runner movie and people that hated the first movie, this is a step forward in legendary sequels. The cinematography is quite incredible, and the performances elevate the stakes of its emotional character study. Moving at a slow pace that isn't boring and captivates the audience, the film is just perfect. It brought out the best in all of its cast, the cast members holding the best performances in their career here, especially with Ryan and Harrison. Blade Runner 2049 is something entirely unexpected and delivers on a flawless scale.
Now, if you don't mind, if you could just look up and to the left, please.
The cinematography of this movie is just faultless. Roger Deakins, who has lent his obvious talent to movies like 1917, The Shawshank Redemption, and No Country for Old Men, he has brought the best of his career to Blade Runner 2049. Each shot is colourful, vibrant, and beautiful. Every single shot. It adds so much to the movie itself, enhancing the cinematic experience to all new heights. It's simply astonishing what Deakins has achieved here. There is so much to admire, and as the pace moves slowly, the cinematography revels in its own beauty, for when there isn't dialogue or story progression, the stunning visuals is an experience in and of itself. Each shot Deakins creates expands the world of Blade Runner in a much larger way, aspects of the first film becoming key plot points in this one. It felt like Deakins' cinematography opened up the world of Blade Runner in such a beautiful way that it became admirable from scene one. I was consistently blown away by Deakins' work, and for each shot to be so mind-blowingly impressive makes this movie such an experience, and has become the best looking film I've ever seen. If you're not watching this film as a fan of Blade Runner, you'll come out of it as a fan of the cinematography. Denis Villeneuve seems to never fault with a film of his. He's created movies such as Prisoners, Arrival, Sicario, Enemy, and the upcoming anticipated remake of Dune. His entire line of directorial films are utter masterpieces from my point of view, and this is no different, as it probably stands as my favourite from him. Despite him being my second favourite director of all time, he brought something to the table here that no one expected until they saw the film. He let the movie breathe. Clocking it at nearly a 3-hour runtime, Deakins was able to fully authenticate the quality of the movie with his cinematography, but Villeneuve brought out some incredible scenes, pushing them as actors. He honoured the original film with its impressive set designs and wonderful music, surprisingly composed by Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallfisch, to make a massive expansion on something so beloved that you wouldn't imagine to ever get in a sequel.
Every leap of civilization was built off the back of a disposable workforce. We lost our stomach for slaves, unless engineered. But I can only make so many.
The cast is wonderful, each and every one of them, Ryan Gosling bringing the performance of his career to the screen with this film. Other movies in his filmography such as Blue Valentine and La La Land held extremely strong performances from him, but personally, I think he shines in this role as Officer K. Along with the cinematography, he ushers in such a prominence as his character, and whilst he wasn't mentioned in the original film or any of the pre-release prologues, he was something completely new, and as the story progressed, the audience got to learn more about him, which was something not originally covered in the first Blade Runner. That's why this movie worked with nearly everybody who saw it that had also seen the 1982 classic, because whether they hated it or not, it was a completely different film story-wise. It was set in the world of Blade Runner and focused on aspects of the first Blade Runner, but the story structure was entirely different, which divided some fans, but generally was the focal point of this movie's praise.
Stay back.
Harrison Ford is generally not that much of a strong actor, even though he consistently delivers iconic roles with the likes of Han Solo, Indiana Jones, and Rick Deckard. But with Blade Runner 2049, it felt like he actually lent his talent to this film, uniquely making me having misjudged him as an actor. Even though he's a very likeable person, I've never found any of his roles to be something astounding. This movie proved to me that he wasn't just a top-tier Hollywood actor who was just assumed to be great in every movie he was in, so I'm glad he chose this movie to truly act and push himself further in ways we've rarely seen from him before. Two of the supporting actors, Mackenzie Davis as Mariette and Sylvia Hoeks as Love, were simply standouts too. Davis wasn't much of a standout actress for me before this movie. In fact, I found her a little annoying, but it felt like she knew her character extremely well. Hoeks, like Ana de Armas, seems like she's been a very hidden talent that has only been able to shine in this movie, but all of the cast had something incredible to bring to the quality of this film.
I know it's real.
Arguably the best in this cast is Jared Leto. Jared Leto is a very controversial actor, a lot of people judging his acting abilities purely on his portrayal of the Joker in the worldwide controversial comic book film Suicide Squad. However, it's roles like these that prove to me he's still a brilliant actor. Although I didn't mind him as the Joker in Suicide Squad, his best roles are when he isn't tackling a blockbuster role. His portrayal as Rayon in Dallas Buyers Club was impressive to say the least, and he won an Oscar for it, which I believe to be very well deserved. With Blade Runner 2049, I personally think he was a better villain than Rutger Hauer in the original film despite his iconic scenes. Leto creates an aura around his character, an extremely uncomfortable one that haunts every scene he's in. Like Harrison Ford, he doesn't play a prominent role in the plot until the final act, although his character Niander Wallace presides over the whole plot, pulling the strings of the mystery of the story. Aside from Dallas Buyers Club, Blade Runner 2049 is probably Leto's best role, but I am yet to see Requiem for a Dream. An underrated gem that was brought into the public eye with her obvious talent is Ana de Armas, an actress only known for her independent films and Mexican films. This was her first big wide release movie that was widely recognised by the public, leading her to get roles in Knives Out and the upcoming James Bond film No Time to Die. She soared as an actress and I'm yet to go deeper into her filmography, but she was astounding in this movie. Her emotional range, despite her character being a hologram, was insane. Despite nudity being quite prominent at particular points in this film, she actually acted extremely well to distract viewers away from the nudity. Whenever scenes like that happened, she was regarded as such a serious role that it wasn't a massive thing, something I found to be quite hard to do in this day and age. She's a brilliant actress, and thanks to Denis Villeneuve, she might not have been so widely recognised. I can honestly say that I think this will become an instant classic in the coming years, reflected on as one of the best honorary sequels of all time. It's a massive step forward in the science fiction genre, as it wasn't so based on typical sci-fi action in franchises like Star Wars, but Blade Runner 2049 focused on the development of its characters. This felt more like a character study film that focused on character identity, with the science fiction genre backdrop becoming prominent in a few spread out scenes. The visual effects are purely astonishing too, as it all feels extremely realistic. The visual effects especially have been utilised strongly this time around, as the progression of CGI in 1982 wasn't all that great, but since this was made 35 years after the original classic, so much more could be done. What kept me invested with this movie more than most ever, not just based on science fiction, was the insane amount of twists that occurred in the final act. Some were just purely unexpected, and as a fan of the original 1982 Blade Runner, some were purely exciting and were obviously directed at audiences who had seen the first film. If you're wanting a few surprises, Blade Runner 2049 is full of them.
What a day, You look lonely. I can fix that.
When you think of a wildly popular sci-fi movie, your mind probably jumps to Star Wars, and whilst I love Star Wars, it's extremely based on the fact that it's fiction and can do whatever it wants, but this movie focuses on a potential reality 30 years from now. That's why I think this film is a step up from its predecessor, because everything is encased in such a realistic manner. It's purely brilliant. A big part of movies nowadays is action and violence. This film doesn't largely rely on violence to make its point. When violence does become important, it's a brief but brutal nonetheless. This isn't an action film, so don't go in expecting a cutthroat, fast-paced film, because you won't get it. However, with Jared Leto's creepy aura for his character, the violence when it occurs is extremely impactful, since it comes at certain points when it's not expected, something brilliantly done from the direction of Villeneuve.
Stop. Put up 4847 and 2181, side by side. They're identical.
Blade Runner 2049 is a brilliant masterpiece that is visually breathtaking with such a strong ensemble cast directed by Denis Villeneuve, who balances honouring the original 1982 classic and creating something brand new perfectly. The world of Blade Runner is so intricately expanded in this movie that the film moves at such a slow pace to welcome in this idea, the cinematography from Roger Deakins consistently being absolutely marvellous. It's its own film without having to set up potential for future sequels, reboots, etc. It's its own film that has a story to tell, and it tells it beautifully. Blade Runner 2049 is such an immaculate film that it really changed the way the science fiction genre was portrayed in film. As it is the movie that established my love for making and watching movies, this deserves a masterful 10 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. Have you seen Blade Runner 2049? Let me know below. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to see even more, check out my channel and be sure to have a look at my previous reviews of Capone and Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. As always, be sure to follow and subscribe to my YouTube channel. This has been Kia's Reviews, signing off for now.